All right, it's a Monday edition of Mr. Irrelevant here on ESPN Madison. I'm Alex Strouf from the Everlight Solar Studio. We changed the setup. We changed the visuals. We changed everything. I'm wearing headphones now. I look like a professional person. I am lost on what's going on. I could hear myself like 4 seconds delayed, but we're going to roll right through it as we get into Strouf's notes. I also forgot my board. Are we eliminating the board? I would like to pull in Hunter Vaughn, the producer of this podcast. I bought this whiteboard off Facebook 3 weeks ago so we could start, the show by doing my notes. I would have a nice whiteboard for anybody that watches on the video side. I don't know where it is. I don't have it. We now have graphics on the video side that say what I'm going to say. So do we even need the whiteboard anymore? What's your opinion on this?
No, we don't need the whiteboard anymore because we actually got a budget now. So we upgraded.
Great. Now, it looks beautiful, but I feel completely lost, right? Like, I am completely lost on what we're about to do here. So we're going to do our best. We're going to power through. We're going to have a great day. Jesse Nelson will join us at 12:25, which is hysterical to me. I'm not going to tell you why. I'm going to allow him to do it for himself when we talk to him in about 10 minutes. But I want to start with the first note you see on the screen. It says, yeah, it is. I say that all the time. It's my go-to verbiage, right? I do an update on the radio. I say, yeah, it is. I recently discovered, as a podcast of a former NFL player who I will not name, followed me on Instagram. In his Instagram description, it said, yeah, it is. And I said, all right, that pisses me off. I'm going to figure out what that's about. So I open up this guy's podcast, and the first thing he says is, yeah, it is. And I said, what the hell, dude? That's mine. So I have filed a trademark for the term yeah, it is. I'm not joking. I haven't filed it yet, but I have reached out to figure out how to file a trademark for the term yeah, it is, because I'm going to sue this sucker. I think he's mocking me by finding my Instagram, following me, changing his Instagram bio, and starting his podcast with that. I'm pissed off about it. I really am. This is not a joke. This isn't a bit. I'm being dead serious. So Hunter actually put this in without telling me. So we're starting the show with that, I guess. I'm pissed off because somebody stole yeah, it is. All right. Enough of that. I'll keep you posted on the trademark stuff. I'm legitimately not a bit. I actually did reach out to somebody about this last week. So anyway, great weekend. Great weekend for sports. Great weekend for football. And the Packers and Badgers didn't have the opportunity to ruin it, right? The Packers ruined my Thursday, but by Sunday I was good, right? I was feeling fine. I was okay with where I was at. And all I did yesterday, Sunday, was sit on the couch and watch football. I did nothing. I ate 3 bowls of soup yesterday. And then Saturday I had a big one. And I went to the local pizza slice place down on State Street. You know what I'm talking about? And I had a leftover slice. I burnt the hell out of my mouth yesterday. I've never burnt my mouth to the level where the skin is falling off of the top of my mouth. So I might need to reach out to a doctor about that. I don't know how big of a deal that is. But the top of my mouth is falling off. It's like I'm a snake shedding the top of my mouth. But otherwise, great weekend. College football, terrific. Couple of great games. Ole Miss, LSU, really good game. Duke and Notre Dame, really good game. Couple of really good games over the weekend on Saturday. Then Sunday, we have what seems like will either be really good games or really bad games. Some of those lived up to what we would think, right? Like Niners-Cardinals actually ended up being a good game. Whereas Dolphins-Bills was a good game, but it was a blowout. Sunday night, Chiefs-Jets might have been the game of the Sunday, right? It might have been the game of Sunday. 3-point game, terrific game. Zach Wilson actually looked competent. It was a great weekend for football. But that got me thinking, who's actually good, right? We're 4 weeks into the NFL season. And we don't know who's good. We know a couple. We know a couple of teams are good, right? We know these 5 for sure. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the Niners, the Dolphins. The Niners and Eagles, the 2 undefeated teams, the only 2 4-0 teams left in the NFL. We knew the Chiefs were good. They will be good until proven otherwise. The Dolphins are good, even though they got their butts kicked a little bit. They're a really good football team. They put up 70 last week. I'm not discounting them for losing to the Bills, who are another good team. So we know there are 5 good teams in the NFL. I'm good with that. 5 of them. I'm getting close to adding 3 more teams to that good pile, right? So I think we might be able to say there's 8 good teams. I'm ready to add the Lions. I think the Detroit Lions are a good football team. I watched them at Lambeau Field whoop the Packers on Thursday. The hype around Dan Campbell's real. So I'm ready to say the Lions are the 6th good football team. The Cowboys, despite losing to the Cardinals last week, Hunter, I know you'll be happy about this one. I'm ready to say the Cowboys are the 7th good football team. The Cowboys are good.
I'll take it. I'm okay with that.
I think there's an 8th good football team. I think it's the Baltimore Ravens. They're inconsistent, but they're good. So I think those are the 8 teams I'm ready to say are good in the NFL. Just to recap, we have the 5 we already knew were good. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the 2 undefeated teams, the Eagles and the Niners. We are adding the Lions, the Cowboys, and the Ravens. 8 good football teams. But then it got me thinking even further. There are players we were wrong about, specifically one. I think Baker Mayfield is good. The Buccaneers are 3-1. The guy looks rejuvenated. I'm ready to say Baker Mayfield is a good football player again. And I know Cleveland ruins quarterbacks left and right? Like Dorian Thompson-Robinson yesterday looked horrible. He was awful. And there was so much hype around him. They thought he might be the next guy if Deshaun flames out. Baker Mayfield is good. He's good. So that's where my head went. Who's good? Those 8 teams and Baker Mayfield. I don't like Baker Mayfield, but I think he's good. He's looked really good in Tampa. All right, that's all I got right now. We're going to talk to Jesse Nelson next. It might be the wildest, most unexpected excuse to not come to the studio I've ever heard in my entire life. And I don't think he's BSing us, right? Like, I think something is legitimately wrong with him. But not to the point where he's at the hospital, to the point where he is sitting in front of his laptop in his kitchen. I can see him right now. He's sitting in front of his laptop in his kitchen, ready to tell us what's wrong with him. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Brewers, because the Brewers kick up their postseason run tomorrow against the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I am fascinated. I love when a good plan comes together, right? So, like, we book guests a little bit in advance. Jesse was a last-minute phone call. We asked him yesterday if he could do the show today. And shit went south so quickly that I am so enthralled by what we're about to discuss. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jesse Nelson will join us to explain maybe the wildest thing I've ever heard. That's next. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf. Our conversation with the injured Jesse Nelson is brought to you by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Coralsville, Door County. They've got everything you can need to elevate your tailgate, elevate your party, elevate your gathering. Do it right. Do it the right way. Do it with Door County Distillery, whether it's that blue bottle of vodka, that green bottle of gin, any of the award-winning whiskeys, or any of the in-betweens. Like I've been telling you recently, it's brandy season. Brandy Old Fashioned. They've got this delicious cherry brandy. To make cherry brandy Old Fashions, you can find a bunch of new, as of this week, cocktail recipes on their website for fall at doorcountydistillery.com. Also find the retailer nearest you at doorcountydistillery.com. All right, Jesse Nelson with a broken ankle coming up next. All right. I can't do anything but laugh as we begin this conversation with Jesse Nelson. He is the producer of Wilde and Tausch. He is a brilliant play-by-play voice for ESPN Wisconsin. Had a great game this weekend, Oshkosh Whitewater in Division III. Jesse, I'm just going to give you the floor, dude. You didn't come into work today. I had to do your job for you. This is maybe the most understandable excuse you've ever given me. I just don't know how to react to it. So, Jesse Nelson, the floor is yours.
Well, hi, Strouf.
Hi,
Baker Mayfield is not good.
Disagree.
And I could use a cherry old-fashioned right now from Door County Distillery. I'm taking a beating here today.
Yeah.
On top of what I've already been experiencing, which is I couldn't really walk this morning. Um, and I haven't done anything strenuous in the last 48 hours.
Yeah, that shocks me.
Gabe Neitzel ran a half marathon in Milwaukee over the weekend. I called a Whitewater Oshkosh football game, and there was some, people are doing physical activity there. I walked my dog on Saturday night. That was pretty much the only thing that I've done. But I woke up Sunday morning and I felt like my ankle felt like it had kind of rolled. Everyone's rolled an ankle before. You kind of wake up and you're like, oh, it feels like it's a little off. It kind of hurts a little bit. Whatever.
Okay.
And I just kind of went about my day, just powered through it, like a trooper that I am. And by the end of the night last night, I'm like debating whether I want to go up the stairs to like lay in bed to go to sleep. And then this morning I wake up and I'm like, I can barely put any weight on this thing. So I texted you around 7 in the morning and said, hey, would you mind stepping in for Wildy and Tausch? I don't know if I need to go to a doctor or like if I need to just put some ice on this thing all day or what the deal is. But that's where we're at right now, Stroufy.
All right, so I've got about 18 follow-ups. Let's start with this one.
Great.
Why have we not gone to a doctor?
Well, I texted a friend of mine who is a nurse, and I asked for her professional opinion because, if you really want the whole deal, I have not established a primary care physician since moving to the greater Madison area.
You've lived here for like 6 years.
Yes, I understand. Like I'm a healthy guy.
I haven't either, so I can't really throw stones.
I would have to go to urgent care if I wanted to get this looked at all. And, I've gone to urgent care before. Like, that bill's a little hefty sometimes. So what I was thinking about is, am I going to go to urgent care? Am I going to spend 4 hours at urgent care? And am I going to find out, just go home, elevate it, put some ice on it, you'll be fine. Like, that's what I wanted to avoid. So I texted my friend who is a nurse, and I said, okay, like, I just have a quick medical question for you. Like, I couldn't put any weight on my ankle this morning. Is it going to be okay? Like, should I just sit at home and put some ice on it, or should I go see somebody? And she said, it's probably just like you rolled it or tweaked something. Just put some ice on it, elevate it, do the rest thing for a day or two. And if you get to Wednesday and it feels the same or worse, then it might be something serious and you should go to urgent care.
What if you lose your ankle, dude? Like, you didn't do any strenuous activity. You didn't roll your ankle. You woke up and you couldn't walk.
Stroufy, I apologize. I cannot hear you right now. I don't know what. I'm sure you said something very nice about me, and I will respond by. Okay, I got you now. What'd you say there?
I said, what if you lose your ankle? Like, you haven't done any strenuous activity. You didn't roll your ankle. You can't walk. I feel like that's a little bit more concerning than, hey, let's wait it out 48 hours.
Well, I took a leave, and
I don't know how we're going to talk about the Brewers. I want to talk about nothing else but your ankle.
Brewers. Also, for those who are coming at me for my work ethic, if I wanted to skip a day, there's baseball playoffs on all day the next 3 days, plus next week. Today would be the worst day of the week to potentially skip out on a day of work. So I just want to point that out. Next.
So I asked you this question over text, and I still kind of stand by it. I don't know if I believe your response fully. This wasn't alcohol related.
No, I wish it was. And I said this on Wildy and Tausch when Jason had me call in for the very well-produced show today. Nicely done.
Thanks.
I wish I had a story. There's nothing better than if something goes awry, at least being able to have a story about what happened. I can't say that I tripped on the bleachers at Titan Stadium. I can't say that I was playing pickleball, which I just started playing 3 weeks ago and feel like I'm pretty good at it. And serious injury is going to keep me out for on the 15-day injured list. Nothing like that. I got nothing. I have no idea how this happened.
So that's kind of my point. You don't just wake up and can't walk. That's not normal. Right? And I understand, right? The U.S. medical whatever sucks, right? You got to pay out the wazoo just to say, hey, what the hell's wrong with my left leg? Mm-hmm. But waking up to the point where you're like, I can't go to work. You need to go see a doctor. I don't understand the mindset of, hey, 48 hours. We'll be all right. Check it out.
That's what a medical professional advised me. Put some ice on it, rest, elevate, see what happens.
Did
Aunt
you
Shelly's
tell-
coming over tonight with my mom and dad. I got to make the spaghetti sauce coming up here in about 4 hours. It's going to be a big show this afternoon. Got to make sure we get that accomplished.
Oh, my God. So, crutches?
We don't have any.
Wheelchair.
No.
How are you moving?
Well, I mean, so I got I got one working foot over here, and the other one, like I said, I took a little pain medication, so we're getting around a little bit compared to what it was at 7:30 this morning. We're in better shape than we were then, but still not great. Like, I'm trying to avoid steps. Like, I'm letting the dog out in our backyard. Our deck has steps to go down. If he wants to go eat the raspberries today, I'm not going to go stop him from eating the raspberries. It's Mo's day to feast out in the backyard.
I don't like joking about this, but I legitimately think you might lose your foot.
I think you do. Actually.
No, about amputating extremities. I think you might legitimately lose your foot. I think you're being naive and neglecting what is a very serious situation.
Well, the problem, Strouf, is I've dug myself into a hole now where there's no good outcome for me. Because if I show up to work tomorrow and I'm relatively fine, everyone's going to say, oh, what a weak day off that was. What an embarrassing performance by the out-of-shape bowler. If I don't show up to work tomorrow and this thing does get worse, then we're in a world of hurt for a bunch of real reasons. So this is kind of a lose-lose for me at this point.
It always is when you take a day off, though. Like, you know this about yourself. You're self-aware.
I mean, most decisions I make at work on a regular basis are a lose-lose situation for me. But, that's just what being the hall monitor, that's part of the job, man.
And you're okay with that?
Not all heroes get praised every day, Strouf. That's what we do around here.
I think you just
sometimes you got to take a break and stay
fine.
home because you got a bad ankle. That's what happens.
It's really obscure and not normal, and I'm legitimately worried about you. Like,
what is the word? Let me ask you this. So, I have been very fortunate in my 31, almost 32 years on this earth of avoiding any real, serious medical situations. I would say I had a hairline fracture where I was in a cast playing Mario Kart when I was in 4th grade after a game of Lightning or Knockout, depending on where people worldwide are watching. What is the worst injury that you have ever suffered?
I don't know. I've broken both of my pinkies twice, so they're a little crooked.
Just your pinkies?
Yeah, both my pinkies twice. Ironically.
How does that happen?
Playing hoops. I fell down the stairs once.
Baller. Up there in Denmark.
Yeah, so the first one was basketball on the left hand. Second one was falling down the stairs. Luckily, it wasn't worse.
How old were you when you fell down the stairs?
14. Old enough where I shouldn't be falling down the stairs, and young enough where I can't blame it on alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
So,
that's tough.
Yeah, that was a bad one. I don't remember the right hand. One of them was basketball related. Maybe they both were. Nonetheless, I really haven't had any bad injuries. Now,
yeah, the hairline fracture, we were playing out in the driveway, and Danny Lang was behind me. And Danny, he had the old knockout tendency where he tried to throw it real fast once the person in front shot, and he just tried to knock your ball away, and then he'd go get his, lay it up, and get you out. And I was like, I'm not letting that happen, Danny. So I get up there at the line, and I pump fake, and so that he would throw his ball away before it would count. And then I could take my time making my shot and hopefully get him out. Well, when I pump faked, he threw his, and he kind of did the Jordan Love at the line of scrimmage against the Falcons, where he kind of stumbled over me and ended up landing on my arm, kind of twisted a little bit, and boom, there was first broken bone I ever suffered.
Okay, so there's a story, but there's a story to that one. You understand the disconnect I'm having, right?
Yep.
We have talked the last 12 minutes, and you have continued to acknowledge nothing. Your ankle doesn't just stop working. That is not how the human body operates. You don't just wake up and say, hey, I can't walk today.
I mean, you think I haven't sat here and retraced my steps since I first felt this yesterday? Like, what could have possibly happened? Well, I went to Oshkosh on Saturday. Okay, well, called a football game. Stayed sitting for pretty much the entire thing in the broadcast booth. Nothing really happened there. Didn't notice anything. Drove back home. It was just me here on Saturday night because Becca and her friends were having mom's weekend somewhere else. So I go outside, said, you know what, I'm going to have a fire with my dog tonight. I'm going to go outside in the backyard, put up the fire pit, brought my TV out there, watched a crappy Michigan State-Iowa football game, sat outside in the backyard with a fire, didn't do anything strenuous there, went to bed, woke up the next day, oh, my ankle hurts. It makes no sense.
I'm not trying to figure it out for you. I'm trying to figure it out for me because this doesn't make any sense. And I hope you acknowledge that it makes no sense.
Yeah. Oh, it's bizarre. Yeah. I'm not happy about what life has presented me here today. And like I said, Aunt Shelley and my mom and dad are coming up to. Aunt Shelley's in from Boise. Got to talk about the Broncos. She's, it's one time every 2 years she comes. We got to have dinner tonight. And I said, I'm going to make spaghetti. I'm going to make dinner tonight. I can't back down from that after committing. Like, I gotta step up to the plate.
So when Aunt Shelley shows up and you say, hey, Aunt Shelley, I'm going to give you kind of a half hug here. Can't really put pressure on the left leg.
Aunt, not aunt, but yeah.
You stayed home for work today with a bum ankle, and you're going to nitpick how I say the word aunt.
Yeah, it's aunt.
It's not. There's a U in the word. Nonetheless, I'm just flabbergasted. I'm befuddled. I don't know how to continue past this.
Well, hopefully I am up and on my feet by later today, and things will be going well. Maybe pop another Aleve, whatever the case may be, in order to get us through the night and into tomorrow morning. And we'll be able to talk about the Brewers beginning a playoff run and the Packers bouncing back in Vegas next Monday and Bucks Media Day with Damian Lillard making his appearance in front of everybody and Giannis eating a brat and the Badgers getting ready for homecoming against Rutgers. And what a sports week we have in front of us. Hopefully I won't be watching it in my sitting on my couch with the reclining board up because I need to elevate my foot according to the nurse that I texted.
I think I'm going to bring you a wheelchair. I think I can find one. I think I can have one accessible. I think you need to invest in a wheelchair.
I don't need a wheelchair, Stroh.
I have one at home.
That's great. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, sir. I appreciate your concern for my well-being. Number one, we have steps at the front and backyard of our house. I don't know how I would actually get out of the house if we tried to do this. Step two, what are you going to do? Come pick me up in the morning and put me in the car and drive me to work and then wheel me up to the Everlight Solar Studio in order to fulfill my duties? Also, I don't think I'm tall enough that if I was in a wheelchair in the producer's room that I'd be able to reach everything. I'd kind of be like a kid sitting at the big table and I'd be like, yeah, hey, Jason, I'm over here. Hey.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. I don't know how you're missing the richness of the content that's possible. I called this, what did I call it, a shit show earlier? I mean, I think this may be an understatement. This is completely unreal. I legitimately am starting to believe this is a bit. I think this is a joke. I think you're
I'm not
all
smart enough to come up with this bit. If I wanted it to be a bit, it would be, the dog puked, I'm not coming in, or something like that, which actually did happen this morning, but then unrelated.
I don't know if it's unrelated. I can't get over this. I'm going to try to, because you mentioned something I did want to bring up, and that's Giannis eating a brat for the first time. He's been in Milwaukee for almost a decade. He's been in Milwaukee almost a decade. How has nobody introduced him to a brat before? I have problems with that.
I guess if you think about it, he's not really in Milwaukee in the summertime, except for the year when they were through July when they won the NBA Finals. So brats are really a summertime thing. You maybe tailgates for Packers and Badgers games. You got brats grilling up, but by the time you get into the NBA season, it's not really brat season. Prime brat season is what? Memorial Day to Labor Day, probably the heart of the summer. Maybe you go through Halloween if you're talking about football tailgating with the grill going outside. So I don't blame Giannis for not knowing about brats because the time that he's in Milwaukee until the end of the season. They're in playoff runs, and he's not going to be going out and dabbling with brats in that situation. And then he probably goes home to Greece pretty quickly once the season ends. And then he comes back, and it's around Halloween, a couple of weeks before, and you're like, it makes sense to me that he hadn't understood what a brat was up to this point, or had ever experienced the delightness that is a
It can't make
brat.
sense. It legitimately cannot make sense because he plays in an arena where they serve him year-round, right? Like, Pfizer Forum sells brats in March still. I have an issue with whoever his guy is, right? Like, I know there's a documented first friend who's hung out with him for a long time. How did he not explain maybe one of the most crucial parts of Wisconsin culture to Giannis Antetokounmpo? It's truly a travesty. I'm glad he finally got to experience a brat. As you know, Jesse, I probably eat 6 times the amount of brats than the average person in Wisconsin per summer, right? Like, it is a twice-a-week dinner for me.
You love yourself a good brat.
So it is extremely concerning to me that somebody did not take the role of teaching this man about Wisconsin delicacies until 11 years into his career. It's an issue.
Well, I don't know if it's as big a deal as you're making it out to be. I think brats in general can be slightly overrated. I have them fourth in my power rankings of the 5 racing sausages at AmFam Field.
You have them at what?
Fourth.
Polish is above it?
Yeah, I've got the hot dog number 1. Hot dog's definitely number 1. Slice of Americana, easy to throw it up on the grill, ready to go. Like, here we go, hot dog. It's available at any ballpark. It's just that affiliation. There's second to none. Polish is number 2. You got the Polish sausage. It goes back to my youth. My dad, when he was home with me, he'd make Polish sausage and macaroni and cheese, one of my favorite.
Chorizo's got to be 3.
No, chorizo's 5. Because I've never really had a chorizo just straight up.
So you took maybe debatably the 2 best sausages, brats and chorizos, and you ranked them last.
Yeah, I'm going hot dog, Polish, Italian, brat, chorizo last.
I would almost flip those rankings completely. I think I would go 5-1, and I'd be fine with that.
When have you had chorizo? A breakfast skillet? Like, that's the only time I've ever even seen chorizo on a menu anywhere. Like,
I've had chorizo normal, right? Like,
I
bought chorizo.
Chorizo on a bun. You ever just have chorizo on a bun?
I don't know if I've done it on a bun.
Yeah, how can that be above any of the other sausages that I guarantee you've had on a bun?
I can't say I often have Italian sausage on a bun. That's usually in a skillet rendition as well.
But you sure as heck would. Wait a minute. You've never had like an Italian sausage sandwich?
No.
You, Mr. Wisconsin Supper Club, have never dabbled in some of the finest arts of
Alpine
Lane's Avalanche
You're
Grill?
being rude now because I'm not a big supper club guy. I love and respect supper clubs, but I can't tell you the last time I was in one.
The Italian sausage sandwich is consistently underrated on the menu in the pantheon of Wisconsin establishments, but particularly the supper clubs. Because when you think supper club, you think fish fry, maybe prime rib Saturday night. No one ever thinks about the Italian sausage sandwich, but it's definitely one of the go-tos. My dad loves it. He gets it almost everywhere he goes. And again, Alpine Lane's Avalanche Grill in Muskego, Wisconsin, maybe the best Italian sausage sandwich on the planet.
Well, to put a bun or a bow on this conversation, you'll be happy to know I had a Chicago dog at Varsity in Sun Prairie last night.
You're a local there, I hear.
I am a regular. Yeah.
Or a regular.
Yeah.
You're a regular there.
Yeah, I frequent Varsity. Yeah. So I was there.
I was
night,
thinking about this
Chicago
today. So you and I went to Varsity in Sun Prairie to watch the Bucks win a playoff game, and it ended up being the only playoff game they won.
That's correct.
So, heaven allowing that I'm able to get out on my feet tomorrow, do we go watch a Brewers playoff game there and like try and run it back? And then if they win, do we just keep going there until they lose? Like, is this the level of superstition that we should stoop to?
You know what? I'm in. I like this idea. I'm in. Yeah, I mean, it's going to become a little much, especially if this goes 3 and they advance. Yeah. Right, we might as well just
wait till the NLDS. Just wait till they're playing a best of 7 against the Braves trophy.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like, we're going to be there 10 times in 14 days. Yeah. I kind of dig it. Until they lose. We go until they lose.
Until they lose, and then we find another establishment to dabble in. Yeah. I think that's the way you have to do it. Again, if I'm even able to get out of the house, I might be in the ER tomorrow for all I know. It could be anything.
I would be curious if Vegas was listening to our conversation, what the odds of Jesse Nelson losing his left foot are. Like, I don't like joking about this, but I think the odds are higher than maybe you realize. This is not normal. Like, you're just like, yeah, another day on the job. My foot just doesn't work anymore.
It was concerning when I woke up around 5:30 this morning, and I had asked Beck because the dog had kind of growled after my alarm went off. I said, "Can you please take the dog out?" And she was still sleeping, and she was like, "I don't want it." I'm like, "Well, I can't really walk right now." Like that was the first indication that maybe I shouldn't come to work today.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. All right, Brewers winning the World Series. They good enough?
So they have the pitching to do it, and that's what has been top of mind for me since I said they were donezo after getting swept by the Oakland A's. They got Brandon Woodruff healthy. The three of Burns, Peralta, and Woody on the hill for the Crew in any series gives them a great chance to win. And especially once you get past, like this week, it's 3 games. Those are the 3 you're going to throw out there if it comes down to it. NLDS, best of 5. Even if it goes 5 games, you'll be able to turn them around, and you can get 5-6 innings out of them if need be. By the time you get toward the end of the NLCS, and then if they were so fortunate to get to the World Series, which would just be incredible if Milwaukee was able to get to the World Series, then you start thinking about, okay, you've got to empty the tank, give it everything you've got. What I've said on Wilde and Tausch before, and what I want to reiterate going into these playoffs, Shohei Ohtani is likely going to sign with the LA Dodgers next year. And I got ripped for saying this on Wilde and Tausch. But with Corbin Burns and the contract situation that he's in, likely leaving Milwaukee after this year, Craig Counsell's future uncertain. The National League, the Braves are great, but this year the Dodgers aren't what they have been in this dynasty that they've been in for almost a decade. If the Brewers are going to try and win a World Series, this is probably going to be one of their best last chances to be able to do it for a very long time. So as much as I love that I was wrong about proclaiming them donezo back in early June, I am all in on the Milwaukee Brewers winning a World Series this year, because if they don't, I'm not sure it ever happens.
So I agree with that. And you said one of the last chances. I kind of view it as the last chance, given Burns and his arbitration and situation. Baseball's so dumb, right? Like, I hate all these terms and how contracts work and all that. But
when you're a consistent Cy Young contender, you shouldn't have gone to arbitration with them for $750,000 back in March.
When it's less than $1 million, right? I mean, but then there's a salary cap and small market versus large market. You bring up the Dodgers and all the money they throw at everything. Their dynasty will continue. This is the year, but the offense has been incredibly inconsistent, and the pitching has not been. Obviously, to your point, the pitching is what's going to help them in the long run. But if the offense can get going, which is why I think they played a lot of these guys the last week, even though it was meaningless, you've got a shot. You need my guy Salvatore Frelick. Salvatore, as I like to call him. Don't even know if that's his real name. You need him to be a stud like he was. Yeah, I mean, it's something like that. Also, Brewers news while we're sitting here, Jesse. The Brewers have released infielder Brian Anderson, who was designated for assignment last week.
That's a doggone shame. Tough break for BA.
Yeah.
And you call all those games, multiple 15, 20-year decade, a couple of decades, and get cut right before. I mean, thankfully he's got TBS to fall back on. But
really? That's the joke we're doing?
The infielder. I mean, that actually does suck for him. Like, he's on the team all season long, right. And it's like, we're in the playoffs. We got a chance to go win a World Series, win the division, and you're gone. Bye.
So is that one of those situations? Does he still get a ring if they are to win it all?
Yeah, I mean, the way baseball works, anyone who contributes to the team at all throughout the season gets a ring. Like, they're very willy-nilly with who gets a World Series ring. Not that we would ever know, because we haven't won one yet. But
would they give one to Josh Hader, like, honorarily? I know it's been over a year now, but would they give him one?
Absolutely not, after what he said about that franchise when he left last year. I'm trying to think of somebody that they cut in in April that didn't make it, but because he played in a regular season game, we got Luis Urias.
Yes.
Luis Urias ended up signing with the Red Sox after getting cut midway through the season. He would get a World Series ring if the Brewers were to win it in 2023.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good pull. Mike Brasso, wasn't he around at one point?
Yeah, Brasso would get one.
That's about all I got. That's all I got for you.
Yeah, Julio Teheran, I guess, is still kind of on the team, so yeah, it doesn't really count the same. Jason Junk, the reliever who came in and threw a couple of pitches. That dude from
I got to be honest, I didn't even know that was a real person. I thought you were making that up. Jason Junk.
Oh yeah,
that's a great
Jason
name.
Junk. Yeah,
Great baseball name. He throws junk. Yeah.
Who was that dude from Hortonville the other night that got the win and eliminated the Cubs? Essentially, he would get a World Series ring.
True.
Yeah, World Series rings are pretty great. You and I might be in line to get a World Series ring, actually, depending on how they give them out.
I've attended I've attended 3 games this season. So yeah, I think I've contributed.
Where do you believe the best seat at a baseball stadium is?
It's a great question.
I'm
front row,
it's
first
not,
base line.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's not the most expensive seats right behind home plate on the
Yeah, I
lower
agree.
level.
Front row Amy does not have the best seat in the house.
I think second level behind home plate, like maybe 5-6 rows up in that second level is pretty good. But then also like sitting in the outfield where, I've mentioned before, my dad was an usher at Miller Park, now AmFam Field. He used to usher out in right center field. And where we would sit out by him, you're actually slightly over where the fence line is for home runs below you. So if the ball lands like where we sat, like we'd catch it or whatever, but it would be a home run very clearly over the fence. But where you're literally positioned on that platform out in right center field, you're over the line. And so it would be really cool to be out there, like see baseball players tracking the ball down below you.
Okay, so hold on. I want to cut you off. So you just asked the question, what's the best seat? And that evolved into a story about a seat that's fine, but just is too far in front of the line. Because you are not saying this is the best seat in the house.
No, I'm saying it's a great seat. I think that seat and the second level behind home plate, those are tied in my power rankings of best seats in the house at AmFam Field. Yeah.
What don't you have power rankings for?
Madison area Chinese restaurants.
Because they all aren't very good, is what I've learned. They're all fine.
Yeah, they're all
Shouldn't
the
say not
same
very
tier.
good. They're all fine.
There's very clear, like there's tier 1 and tier 2 Madison area Chinese.
I don't know if there's a
restaurants.
tier 1. I haven't been blown away by any Chinese food down here. Mexican food, though. Oh, baby. There's some tier 1 joints there.
Those are good power.
Okay. I had a question for you. I lost it because I got distracted by your seat story. Front row Amy. Have I told you my front row Amy story?
No, I'd love to hear it though. Is this
It's
part of what
inappropriate.
we learned over here on the side of the deal here, or is that no?
No, this is about a decade ago. Because I was like, I think it was probably 9 or 10 years ago. I was in high school. I was writing for a website, and I decided I wanted to do a series called Wisconsin Speaks, right? So like folklores, fan favorite type people.
Very scholarly of you. Wisconsin Speaks with Alex Strouf.
Indeed. So Front Row Amy was one of the first ones in this series. And we did the interview via email, right? So it wasn't over a phone call. It wasn't over like whatever they had back in the day, Skype, right? We did back and forth on email for a couple days. And I framed it correctly, right? So like I had done research on Front Row Amy and who she was and everything, everything about her and how long she'd been keeping score and had that seat. And I stumbled across an article of a pitcher. I forget what team he played for. But he said that her cleavage was distracting to him while he was on the mound. So I asked her the question, 14-year-old me, via email, are you aware that players say your cleavage is distracting, and how does that make you feel? And she answered the question brilliantly, right? She's like, yeah, I've read it. It is what it is, blah, 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 blah. But looking back on that, I should have never asked that question. But I'm glad I did because it allowed me to tell you this story.
Shucks, folks, I'm speechless.
So yeah,
Front row Amy.
Front Row Amy. Is she still around? I haven't seen her.
Oh
around.
yeah, she's
Okay.
there.
Yeah, okay. I must have just missed her the last time I've been
Well,
at AmFam.
what happened a few years ago, she became less prominent on the broadcast because they changed the camera angle at AmFam Field. Because it used to be like lower on that like platform out in center field, so that it was kind of coming in like from the side.
Sure.
And now it's like directly above and it's up further, so it comes down, so you can only see like the front row or two of fans, and that's if there's no like graphic or anything up there. So it's kind of like it's not as prevalent as she used to be.
Interesting. All right, that's all I got for you. The last question we always ask, lazy and brilliant. You know the question. Who should I have on the show? You just need to help me book them.
Joe Thomas celebrated Joe Thomas Day at the Cleveland Browns game yesterday, 28-3 loss, which is very appropriate for Joe Thomas Day. So I think you should get Hall of Fame offensive lineman Joe Thomas in his gold jacket to be on the Mr. Irrelevant podcast.
Do you think he would let me wear his gold jacket?
No.
Okay, that's what I figured.
I wouldn't. Like,
you
also,
think
you're
about
kind of gross.
but we work with an Olympic gold medalist, right? Matt Hamilton.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody here has worn his gold medal.
Yes.
So I wonder if it's the same idea with the gold jacket.
Well, the gold medal isn't fitted, so there's that. You don't have to dry clean the gold medal. The gold medal won't smell like chorizo after someone who just ate one wears it.
Chorizo's delicious.
And so on and so forth.
I can't believe you ranked that fifth. I should have ended the conversation there. All right, Jesse Nelson, you hear him on Wilde and Tausch when his ankle works, 9 to noon on ESPN Wisconsin. Thank you. We'll do it again sometime. This was probably the most idiotic conversation I've had in the 10 episodes of this program, and I appreciate that it happened with you. I'll see you at Varsity tomorrow.
It is an honor to be on this historic show. Thank you. 10 times. I can't believe you actually made it 10 episodes. It is my pleasure to be here, and I hope that I live to Wednesday to see the next episode.
I hope your foot does. All right, that's Jesse Nelson. We'll wrap it up next with what we learned. We'll talk about Jimmy Butler. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf. It's Dame Milwaukee Bucks Media Day today, but we had a great conversation talking about the Milwaukee Bucks season coming up with Justin Garcia on Friday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant. We also talked a little bit about Tupac. There was an arrest made there in connection with the murder in 1993. We talked about that with Justin Garcia. Talked about Taylor Swift. We talked about Giannis. We talked about all the in-betweens. Get your Bucks fix as their first preseason game is coming up on Sunday. And listen to our conversation with Justin Garcia from Friday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant. If you haven't already, go subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you subscribe and listen to podcasts. It is greatly appreciated. We do this 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf. We'll wrap it up next. All right, we learn something new every day. I learned something new today. It's time for What Strouf Learned. So, the NFL is the greatest spectacle in sports, right? Like it is masterful, it is wonderful. It is just, in terms of United States sports consumption, there is nothing that is a larger spectacle than the NFL. But when it comes to player-driven spectacles, there is no comparison to the NBA. NBA players are allowed to show their personality more than anybody else. And the spotlight we cast upon them is fascinating to me. So Jimmy Butler just lost in the NBA Finals with the Miami Heat. And they also lost out in the Damian Lillard sweepstakes because, let's go, the Milwaukee Bucks won it. So Jimmy Butler has gone into full depresso emo mode, his words, not mine, painted his fingernails black, got a piercing above his eyebrow, and got the most Karen haircut I've ever seen. Let's pop it up on the screen for anybody watching. Drink that in for a moment. What the hell?
It's called fashion. Look it up.
It makes me nervous. Like, it legitimately gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. I don't like it. I respect it, dude. Do what you got to do. But what are we doing here? Like, Cam Newton, I always think of, right? Like, he always typed on all of his social media in the weirdest font. And he would wear the weirdest outfits. And we would all pay attention to it. Jimmy Butler will be the talk of NBA Media Day happening across the country today. Because he looks like a 42-year-old woman driving her son to soccer practice named Karen, who is listening to Fall Out Boy on the way there. It is the strangest look. So there is no larger spectacle than NBA players is what I learned today. I will probably have more thoughts about this on Wednesday because I mean, utter shock is more the reaction I have today. That conversation with Jesse Nelson killed like 47% of my brain cells also. That should be thrown out there. We talked about his ankle for 22 minutes. 22! I don't know what to do. I'm going to end the show. That's what I'm going to do. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We'll do it again Wednesday. We will do the NFL Makes No Sense Part 3. That's going to become a recurring series now because I learn more and more. As we talked about, Baker Mayfield's good. That makes no sense to me. So we'll do that again Wednesday. We will talk a little Packers on Wednesday. We didn't do any of that today. We'll have some reaction from the Brewers' first playoff game happening tomorrow night. So plenty more to get into. We'll do it Wednesday, 12:15 live on ESPN Madison's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, available wherever you get your podcast. Big thanks to Jesse Nelson, fighting through the ankle injury, to join us today. Big thanks to Hunter Vaughn for running the show. Look how pretty it looks on the video side. We'll talk to you Wednesday. I'm Alex Strouf. This has been Mr. Irrelevant.